Welcome to Chandler in Focus, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm Councilman Terry Roe, and I'm here with Russ Funk. He's with a foster parenting organization called AASK, and we're going to hear more about that. So we're going to do a segment with you, and after that, we're going to have some foster parents come in, and we'll interview them. Talk to us a little bit about AASK.
Sure. AASK is an acronym for Aid to Adoption of Special Kids. The organization was founded in 1988 by Cax Herberger and some folks with a real specific goal to find adoptive homes for children in the foster care system at that time that had physical disabilities.
Okay, and so how did you, what are your qualifications? How did you first get involved with AASK, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't have a background in social work, and my degree and vocation isn't in child welfare. However, in the late 80s, my wife and I became foster parents. And while we were building our family and had 2 biological children, we were also fostering kids. And then we ended up having 2 more children join our family through the adoption process. So we have field experience, you might call it. And in a change of career opportunity that I had in 2006, there was an opportunity that came available at AASK, and I joined the team then.
Well, it sounds like you're well qualified, and so that's terrific. And this is an important subject, and so I'm glad that we're here. This is May is National Foster Parenting Awareness Month.
Right, National Foster Care Awareness Month got started several years ago, and part of the effort in that month is to highlight and recognize the families that are caring for the children. Another part of the effort in that month is just to call attention to the needs of foster care.
Okay, and so how is AASK different from other agencies? Do you work primarily or serve the Chandler area primarily, or talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. AASK is actually one of almost 20, I think there's 20 agencies in Maricopa County that are contracted with the state to recruit, study, and support homes for children in the foster care system. And all of these organizations serve the same pool of children. Right, so the state becomes the guardian for these children when they take them into the foster care system, and then they basically recruit other agencies and contract with us to find the homes for the kids. AASK is a little bit different. One, we've been around a long time, and then secondly, we're the largest agency in Maricopa County that's solely focused on finding homes and families for the children in foster care.
Well, that's a big responsibility. Now AASK has that function, but are there other programs that AASK offers or promotes?
Yes. Yeah, like I said, in 1988, when the organization first started, there was a very narrow focus. But over the 27 years of our history now, every time we look up, there's another hole that needs to be filled. And so at some point in time after the initial founding, the organization realized that there were children who needed adoptive homes who didn't have physical disabilities. And then a short time later, the organization realized, wow, there's a lot of children coming into foster care, which is temporary, and they need a temporary home and a family relationship. And so a foster care program was developed. In 2006, we looked around and we were talking to some folks in the child welfare system, and they said, wow, it'd be great if we had a mentoring program, kind of like Big Brother, Big Sister, modeled after that idea, but specifically designed to meet the needs of the kids in this system. And so we created the state's first mentoring program. And then in 2008, and our most recent program is our Sibling Connection program. Because about 75% of the time, if children come into the foster care system, in other words, if they're removed from their home, there's a brother or sister with them, they're not able to stay in the same placement as that brother and sister. And so we created a program that's going to connect them and help them stay connected, even though they might be residing in different places while they're in foster care.
Well, all of those are important functions of your organization. And for me, I was a foster child when I was too young to really know about it. But I had siblings that were separated, and so for them to be able to see each other during a really traumatic time, that's important. And at that time, really was not available. So it's good that you're all offering that. It's terrific.
Thanks.
So. Do you have any statistics to show about, to tell us a little bit about when it comes to the needs here in Chandler?
Sure. And if I could, let me start at the higher level, at the state level. Arizona's child welfare system is really in a crisis. Over the last 5 years, there's been an average decline across the nation of the number of kids coming into foster care. However, in Arizona, that trend is exactly opposite. While there's been an 18% decline across the nation, there's been a 56% increase in the number of kids coming into foster care in Arizona, statewide. Over that same period of time, there's only been a 26% increase in the number of foster homes that have been licensed. And consequently, there's more and more children getting pushed into what we call congregate care. Right? Those are the group homes, the shelters, the residential treatment centers, all places that were designed to meet the basic needs of children, but they're not that family setting. They're not that nurturing environment, which best practice over the years has proved that that's the best place for kids to be when they need to be away from their home of origin. And so this crisis is affecting everybody in the state. Now, I can tell you in Chandler, according to the most recent statewide report that the government issued, as of September of last year, there was 369 children in the foster care system who had resided in Chandler. Yet there are about only 142 licensed foster homes in the city of Chandler. And so about 2 times as many kids are being removed as homes available. And so that's part of our challenge and part of why we're very glad to be here and have a chance to talk about the needs.
So there's a real shortage. So what does it take to become involved in any one of these programs, foster parent, especially foster parenting?
Yeah, there's a lot of qualifications. The very most important thing is that the family is willing and ready to open up their hearts and their homes to kids who need a temporary place. Right? Foster care was designed to be a short-term intervention. It's designed to remove a child from an unsafe situation, place them in a family setting that can keep them safe and nurture them, while the state directs resources and helps those parents fix whatever was going on in their own home so their children can come back. And so it's a really special type of person, a special type of family that will take children into their home, care for them as their own, knowing all the while that they're going to help that child transition back, either to their home of origin or to an adoptive home. So that's the number one qualification. The state also has some regulations that have to be followed so the family can get licensed. The state issues a foster care license to families when they complete the training requirements and the home study requirements, and have their home inspected. So once all that's completed, then they get licensed and then they can start having kids come into their home.
There is a lot there, but if people have an interest and a passion and truly want to make a difference, your group will work with folks and help them make a difference. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, our goal is really to find families for the kids in the foster care system. And so consequently, we measure our success and our progress based on the number of children we serve, not necessarily the number of families, right? Because as you can imagine, some families can care for multiple children. And so last night, for example, 740 children slept in the homes of AASK foster homes, slept in beds in AASK foster homes across Maricopa and Pinal County, right? And there's 17,000 kids in the state foster care system. So 740 were in a licensed home. There's another 300 children that are living with unlicensed relatives, right? So a grandma, a grandpa, an aunt or uncle who took their relative children in when they were removed from their home. And those families are working through the licensure process, and we're supporting those families also. So nearly 1,000 kids a night are being served by families that we're working with.
those are big numbers. How can somebody qualify, and then once they take this very big step, what is a commitment? What commitment is required?
Commitment's a great word, Terry. The commitment is the first thing, and the first step in making that commitment is really coming to a free and a no obligation information session. We hold these 7 times a month across the valley in English and 2 times a month in Spanish. And these information sessions are designed to give folks who feel like they're being called to this or they feel like they want to help information on all of our programs. And so they can come and they'll understand the system better. They'll see some videos where they'll hear from kids, from foster and adoptive families, and they'll leave with information that they can take home and process and decide whether this is the right time for me to get involved, which program is the right level of commitment that I and my family are ready to make at this point, and then what the next steps would be.
Okay. Now, let's say I want to take the big step. Who do they call, or how do they what is the first step?
Sure. First step is easy. It's a phone call to our number at 602-930-4900, or go to our website, AASK-az.org. And you can find all sorts of information there. There's orientation schedules listed on the webpage there. There's no RSVP needed, no need to pre-register. Just pick a session that fits your calendar and your location and come on out.
Well, it sounds, I mean, it's an important subject, and May is Foster Parenting Awareness Month. Am I saying that right?
Foster Care Awareness Month.
Foster
Yes.
Care Awareness Month. It's too bad that it has to, just be talked about in May. It's a year-round problem, and or an issue that is looking for solutions, and that's some of you folks out there watching today, we hope. So there's only a couple of minutes left here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think one of the things that we want to emphasize is that there's a lot of different ways and levels of commitment to get involved. And so families who think that they want to help, but maybe it's not the right time, or maybe they're in the process of relocating homes, or they have children in their home and they're just not sure whether it's the right time for the kids in their home to bring other children in, should still come on out. Our mentoring program is a great option where folks can get involved as a volunteer without the children moving in. And so you just have 2 times a month contact with the young people, and you just spend time in the community with them. So they're not actually moving into your home. And so that's a great way for folks to understand the kids in the system, their needs, and see if this is really what their calling is.
Well, terrific. Russ, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you taking time to come out here and share with our community. This is Chandler in Focus. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes with foster parents.
The Chandler I want has great places for my kids to play. Are you having fun?
What's your vision for Chandler? Go to www.chandleraz.gov/GP update to learn how you can get involved.
Wear sunscreen. Hydrate your body. Stay in the shade. Cover up.
Welcome back. In the studio, we have 2 real-life foster parents. That's Shannon and Ron Burnes, and they live here in Chandler and work. And so, first of all, I want to thank both of you for the work that you do in foster parenting, and I want to thank you for being here and sharing that experience with our community, and trying to encourage other people to maybe take a chance and do the same thing. And so let's start off and tell us just a little bit about how you all decided to get into foster parenting.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Councilman. This is a neat opportunity for us to share what we believe is our story. Ironically, when Shannon and I were setting goals for 2015, one of the things that we had talked about was being an advocate, making awareness to our community, our friends, our family, of how rewarding being a foster parent is. It's challenging, just like being a parent. And so when Shannon and I decided to get into fostering, it was a strong desire of both of ours. Early in our marriage, even before we had kiddos, we knew we'd have biological children. But I came from a large family, And I had some amazing scout leaders, church leaders, teachers that were very influential in my life. As you can imagine, being in a large family, there were 11 children in my family, mom and dad. Dad was kind of absent quite a bit, and from some of his choices, and so I had men and women that stepped up, and really it made a huge impact in my life. And I was so my wife, obviously, I married up, and and she we early on we both recognized that was going to be important. We wanted to start our little family at first, but we knew that that was going to be a significant part of our marriage and our family.
And myself, I came from a family of 8, so also very large. They were great role models. We did camping together. All of us were in sports. My parents were at every single game. And so when Ron and I got together, we wanted our children to also have that. And we felt because I lived in a small community as well in the state of Arizona, and all of my friends' parents were my own adopted parents as well, and they helped raise me as well as my parents. And so Ron and I wanted to be that and give that to other children whose lives may not replicate that.
So you spent time talking about it. Is this, I mean, where do you decide to do this? Is this, is this over the dinner table and a lot of evening discussions, or?
Well, it's back when we first started talking about it, we actually opened up the white pages or yellow pages. My daughter saw one of those, a phone book the other day, and asked me what it was. So we actually went and we looked and we called. And so at the time, this was early in our marriage, we lived out East Mesa. We had a representative came out and basically just sat down and talked to us about what our thoughts were. And it was a very real conversation, because the one thing that really stuck out to me is they said, your goal is ultimately to foster, but you would be a logical placement if or when that child came up for adoption. And so, beginning with the end in mind as well, and you don't want to disrupt a kiddo and take it to another home, or him or her to another home. So they sat down with us and they had a very real conversation. If you were to foster children, what ages? Do you have any preference in, male, female, special needs? Are you willing or able to take that? And even, it was just, and they were very non-judgmental, and just be able to have that conversation, and with someone that, talked with countless families, and it really set us at ease.
Okay, so you made a decision to do this, and so then you've looked it up, and so what steps do you have to go through to get licensed? What did you do?
Well, I looked first
let's hear from
I
you.
went to first online because I always wanted to adopt. I came from a large family, so I wanted lots of children. And so I got online, and at first I was looking at, children who were already free and clear, and that made me more excited. And we looked up, the orientation first that I think Russ talked about. So we went to, I looked up the orientation. There were several that were listed there. We, with his work schedule and things, we found the one that fit best for us. We went to the orientation. We were still excited, felt like this is what we wanted to do. And we went with it. And then we attended the PS MAP class. We've actually been licensed in 2 states, in Washington and here. And it didn't transfer over, so we had to, redo the 30 hours for them. But it was called PS MAP at that time. And we did the 30 hours. Then, the AASK advocate in the state of Washington, they don't do a licensing agency. It's directly through the state. So here we loved that it, was a particular person walking you through every single step. So it wasn't scary. It wasn't nervous.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask, so during this orientation, or was it 30 hours? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So you both attended that together?
Well, the orientation's only a couple hours. So
okay.
Okay. But then if you decide to move forward,
Okay.
you go through your licensing kind of education process.
And so during the education process, what are some of your thoughts about what that involved, or what were you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, is it, I just like to hear that.
I love humor, and I told Shannon, I was like, they're teaching us to be parents all over again. We had at the time 4 children, But again, it's some amazing skills. I mean, a lot of it's about communication, how to deal with children that would have a lot with emotional distress, and what it's like for a kiddo to be torn from their home, from police officers, and again, they're saving those kiddos, and the kiddos think that they're just they're bad. It was bad, or the kids are bad, and the distress that they go through, and their life is in a garbage bag. And we've seen that firsthand, right? And these kiddos coming into our homes. And so a lot of it's preparing us and helping us understand, okay, how do we help these kiddos cope with a lot of these challenges they have, that they feel now that they're not loved, or their family's been taken from them. And so as much as I joke that, oh, they're teaching us to be parents all over again, my children have never dealt that and never had a challenge like that. So I learned a lot of things that have helped me in my, I do a lot of coaching in the community, coaching young kiddos and dealing with, children with challenges as well. So it's just helped me as a better myself as a person as well.
What can you add to that, Shannon?
I guess nothing.
That's it, huh? How has the experience impacted you? We'll let Shannon go first on this one. Is that fair?
Actually impacted us a lot since we've been able to, foster different children. We've added to our family through the foster system and adopted one of our sons, who's 8 now but was 7, just recently as December. And so
Well, congratulations.
that was amazing. He needed us as much as we needed him. And we were searching for him, and we found him, through the means of foster care system. And he now lives in a family that he always wanted. And we wanted to increase ours in that way and be of service. And that's how it happened. And it was a great experience. Fostering has made my heart bigger and increased who I am, and giving me skills that I knew that I was a good parent because I had good role models, but this has just increased those skills that I needed.
We got to talk just briefly at the before this segment, and I don't know if I told you or not, but I was adopted. And so, in fact, my biological sister and I were both adopted together into the same family. And it goes back to me being very grateful for people that do that. And so these, I know the impact that some of the group homes, as good as their intentions are, how difficult it is for a young person to grow up and try and figure out life from a group home. And so it's good that folks like you are doing what you're doing. So, but let's talk about the kind of support that you received. I mean, you did the 30-hour training, orientation, and all the things associated with getting a launch, getting going on this. And so is there support beyond that? And what is it?
Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
Shannon had mentioned, I think we have an interesting perspective, is we were first licensed in the state of Washington, whom CPS does their licensing there. So they don't work with a privatized agency like AASK, where we had a kind of a compare and contrast of the two. Washington was great. We fostered up there. We only had 3 children at the time before we had our last daughter, a biological child. And when we came back to the state of Arizona and we went through the licensing process again about 7 years ago, there was a significant difference in my perspective of the customer service and just the ability to take us and hold our hand through the. I've talked to quite a few foster families or prospective families, and there were a lot of questions around the administrative stuff, the paperwork, and a lot of the questions there, and the support that we received through that process and after has been phenomenal. We have a case manager who meets with us on a monthly basis, knows that her job is to help us work through any challenges as parents. So we have a support group, and they also have AASK as well as CPS, and the agencies offer a lot of support groups for the kiddos and the parents to get together and collaborate. So we're not on our own. We're not on an island. That's been the big thing for us.
We've had certain specific behavior issues with certain kids that we had never dealt with before. We, let our our licensing agent, at AASK know, they called someone who is in the behavior specialist field. Her name is Jill. I won't say her last name, but she came to our house. She has a great personality. She sat with us for 2.5 hours going over specifically that particular behavior so that we could learn how to discipline that behavior and help that child to move through that behavior. So there are lots of things that they have available to you when you need it.
Terrific. Well, we're using up our time rapidly, but I will ask, now that we've had this conversation, and there are obviously folks out watching this program today, what advice would you give someone to try and ease their mind or encourage them? What advice would you give somebody that's
If you don't mind, I'll take this one.
considering
So
this?
the major question that people will ask that know that we do foster care is, I don't know that I could do that because you have memories with the child. What if they go back to their parent? How do you deal with the loss of the child? And for me, that was the first question of myself when we first started foster care too. What if they have to go back? Then what will I do? And all I can say is every child needs an opportunity to know what love in a family unit feels like. And if you can offer that for a short amount of time, whether it's 1 month, 3 weeks, 4 months, 8 months, whatever that time that they're allowed in your home is, then it's all worth it. If you have a little bit of love that you can offer children who may not be feeling it where they came from, then that's the end goal.
Terrific, terrific. So, is there anything else that you'd like to add? And I'm going to give Ron a chance here. What else could you add?
It's this is it's a tender topic in both of our hearts. We love opening our home to these two children, and it doesn't stop just with foster kiddos. It's our kids' best friends, and as there's a need out there, and this is one of the greatest ways to give back. And we've also had great successes with co-parenting. We've built relationships and built bridges where some of the social workers couldn't with the parents. And we've been able to help them, and we've been successful in reuniting kiddos back to their parents. And we've had great successes, and a lot of these parents have reached out to us still after. And so it's not just the kiddos, but ultimately the goal for the fostering is to reunite the kiddos back into a safe home. And if that home is safe and the parents, you're doing what's right, we've been given that opportunity to help the parents too. So it's been exciting to work with both the kiddos and the parents.
It actually sounds like it has been rewarding, really, for both of you, not only adopting a child, but also, it does seem like you get a lot from it.
Yeah, we have a foster kiddo with us, and now our 5 we have a sweet little Jessica who's placed with us as so we're fostering. So we're continuing to do that as well, and it's extremely rewarding.
Well, Ron and Shannon, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing with our community, and thank you for everything that you're doing. May is National Foster Awareness Month. I think I said that right.
Russ will correct us.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Russ will correct us on that, but I think I got it right. And so thank you all for everything that you do, and thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. This is Chandler in Focus. I'm Councilman Terry Roe, and we will see you next time.